Shalawam, giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered across the four corners of the earth. This is your brother Khalak out of the Great Millstone Atlanta camp, coming to you again with another Lord willing edifying video. In this video, we're going to be dealing with Christianity, which is a false religion that has a strong hold on the minds of the masses, particularly the Israelites, which make up you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as you speckled bird that may look like the other nations, but according to the seed of your forefathers, you trace back to Jacob. This religion, known as Christianity, was forced on us by our oppressor Esau Edom, which is the so-called white man. Plantation Christianity we see today really doesn't have anything to do with the Bible. It is only loosely based on the Bible. But these so-called Christians today are really pagans, just with Bibles in their hands. I myself was raised in Plantation Christianity, so I know. Now, the original Christians were Hebrew Israelites that were believers in Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. However, that original faith in Yahweh Shai was merged with pagan concepts by Emperor Constantine around 300 AD. That is where we get the Plantation Christianity we see today. Essentially, Emperor Constantine wanted to unite the Roman Empire, which was divided between the pagans and the followers of Yahweh Shai. So the Roman Emperor Constantine arranged the Council of Nicaea, which is what merged these pagan concepts with the original Hebrew Israelite faith in Yahweh Shai. That is where we get the modern day Christianity. This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 8 and 5. For though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or in earth, as there be gods many and lords many. But to us there is but one God, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, by whom are all things, and we by him. So this is letting you know that there are many gods. Although there is only one true power, which is Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, there are many other false gods and idols in the earth. One of those idols is Jesus Christ. Of course, when we read the English Bible, it says Jesus Christ, but that was not his name. Even the so-called Christians today will admit that Jesus could not have been his name, but they insist on calling it anyways. Which, it's deeper than that. The names are important because the names come with two different messages and doctrines. We subscribe to the doctrine of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, which when the Spirit is dealing with you, you are able to see past the translation of Jesus Christ and know that it's supposed to say Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. But the Lord allowed this as a stumbling block because he doesn't want everybody to get the truth. Salvation is according to election, which so-called Christians get that confused also. They think that you get to choose the Lord, but no, the Lord chooses you. This is the book of Revelation chapter 19 and verse 10. And I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh Shai. Worship Yahweh, for the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. So here it's letting you know that the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy, which is what the sincere Hebrew Israelites come in, not the so-called Christians today. The messages coming out of these Christian churches are just motivational speeches with a few scriptures. But the Lord's true men come in a spirit of prophecy. We're telling you that America is Babylon the Great and it will be destroyed. The so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are the real Israelites, and we will rule the earth for all of eternity underneath Yahweh Shai. The so-called white man is Esau Edom, and he's about to come down on the Israelites with great wrath. The mark of the beast is the RFID microchip, and it will be made mandatory across all the world, and many other prophecies. But the Christian church does not teach you these things. That is ultimately because these so-called Christians today don't even have a biblical worldview. They don't look at the world today and piece it with the scriptures. They don't know that we are living in the revived Roman Empire. They'll read things in the Bible and say, oh, that was in the Bible days, as if we haven't always been in the Bible days. This is the book of Romans chapter 3 and 31. Do we then make void the law through faith? Yahweh forbid. Yea, we establish the law. So the law is not done away with. Contrary to the teachings of the Christian church, you are supposed to keep the law to the best of your ability. Yes, we are justified by faith now, but that does not mean that the law is no longer the standard. After all, sin is transgression of the law. That's according to 1 John chapter 3 and 4. But these so-called Christians today will go out of their way to break the law, celebrating pagan holidays when the Lord gave us our own high holy days, eating abominable animals that were meant to cleanse the earth, or cutting off your beard when the Lord clearly said not to. And there are many other examples. This is the book of Romans chapter 9 and 3. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Hamashiach for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption, and the glory, and the covenants, and the giving of the law, and the service of Yahweh, and the promises, whose are the fathers, and of whom as concerning the flesh Hamashiach came, who is over all, Yahweh blessed forever. Amen. So salvation is only for the Israelites. The Lord has only ever been dealing with the Israelites, and that's something that these so-called Christians today just can't fathom. All throughout the Old Testament, you see how the Lord waged war on the other nations on behalf of his people Israel. That never changed. The first covenant was given to the Israelites, and the second covenant is given to the Israelites. That's Hebrews chapter 8 and 8. As for the Gentiles, there are two types of Gentiles. You have the actual heathen, then you have Israelites that were scattered amongst the heathen, picked up those heathen ways, and became Gentiles. The Gentiles that can receive salvation are Israelites and Israelites only. As for the actual heathen, they will go into slavery in the kingdom of heaven, which the kingdom of heaven will be set up here on the earth. That's another thing these so-called Christians today don't get. The kingdom of heaven is a government that will be set up here on the earth. The Israelites will rule in that kingdom for eternity over the rest of the nations, the same way the Israelites are subject to Esau now. This is Revelation chapter 2 and 26. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. This does not sound like salvation is for all nations. This is Revelation 19 and 11, speaking of the coming of Yahushai. It says, And I saw heaven opened, and behold a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doeth judge and make war. Skipping down to verse 15, it says, And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of almighty power. So this is speaking of the second coming of Yahushai. Verse 11 says he's coming to judge and make war. Then verse 15 says that he would smite the nations. Many so-called Christians today don't know this, but Yahushai is coming back to destroy all the nations of the world. Babylon the Great, which is America, being the number one on the hit list. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 34 and 5. It says, For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. Skipping down to verse 8, it says, For it is the day of the Lord Yahweh's vengeance, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. So this is further expounding on the destruction of Babylon and the second coming of Yahushai. Babylon the Great will be destroyed both by thermonuclear missiles and Yahushai's chariots, which are so-called UFOs. Verse 5 said, The Lord's sword will come down upon Idumea, the people of his curse, which Idumea is Greek for Edom, the so-called white man. Then verse 8 gives you the reason for why the Lord is bringing this destruction. It says the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. Who is Zion? The Israelites. The Lord is coming back to destroy all of these nations for what they did to his people. We've had our true identity stripped from us, and now we go by Black, Hispanic, and Native American. Then also you have the JOO-ish people in the land now pretending to be us. Most of your so-called Christians today don't even have a problem with that, which is utter hypocrisy. Here it is, they have a problem with the Hebrew Israelites on the street corners, but they don't have a problem with the imposters that literally run the world. This is 1 Timothy chapter 2 and 11. Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection, but I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. Now, this is something the Christian church definitely does not acknowledge. In a lot of these Christian churches, the woman is running the show, which is completely rebellious. And there are many other things with modern day Christianity that is just completely off. Take speaking in tongues, for instance. So-called Christians today will have you think that that's just uttering some random mumbo jumbo. But when you read the account in Acts chapter 2, it's clearly talking about other languages. These so-called Christians today also like to gather in these harlot houses they call churches, when the book of Acts chapter 17 and 24 clearly tells you that the Lord does not dwell in temples made by man's hands. The true gospel would be taught out on the streets. But with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, it was edifying and straight to the point. I'm going to give all praises to the Heavenly Father Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Kodash. Once again, double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalawam.